Relocating after law school can feel like an overwhelming step. Maybe you're doing it because you know that a new place offers the best opportunity, or it's just always been your dream to live there, or forces outside your control have made it a necessity. In any case, you know you want to make the most of your new JD and thrive. But how exactly do you do that? How do you overcome the anxieties that arise from leaving your hometown or the place where you've been building your network for years to hopefully find success in a whole new place? On today's episode, our two new law student hosts are going to talk with a guest perfectly attuned to these issues to afford you the tools you need to succeed, no matter where you choose to practice. This is the ABA Law Student Podcast. Welcome back, listeners, to another season of the ABA Law Student Podcast. Once again, I'm Professor Todd Berger from Syracuse University College of Law, and we're starting a new season. We're not only excited about exploring more great topics and providing you with tools you need to thrive in law school and start your career right, but we're, of course, excited to introduce you to our two new law student hosts. Nayeli and Eve, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Todd.
Happy to be here.
Well, it's great to have you both here and great to have you both joining us for our new season of the ABA Law Student Podcast. Super excited about that. So Nayeli, let's keep this simple. Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're in law school, what you want to do when you graduate, and of course, why you decided to be a host on this show.
Yeah. Well, my name is Nayeli Diaz. I'm a 3L at Michigan State University College of Law. I'm really interested in intellectual property, specifically soft IP, copyrights, and trademarks, litigation. I'm a very frequent moot court competitor at our school's moot court program. And I was really excited to do this because I really love talking to people. I really love hearing people's stories. And I like to connect people with information because law school can be super difficult. And anything that I can do to make it easier for anybody who comes after me is what I'm going to try and do.
Well, that's terrific. And when you say you're a moot court competitor, do you mean the trial, the appellate, the ADR?
I do appellate moot court competitions. I am a national title winner and a regional for a different competition, one regional win and one national win for two different competitions. I'm in the process of my third one right now.
Oh, that's great. So Eve and I will be very careful when debating you on different topics throughout the season. So
I'm already scared.
No.
Well, let's hear a little bit about you, Eve. Now that we know you're scared of moot court competitors, but let's hear a little bit more about yourself, where you're from, where you go to law school, what you're interested in.
Yeah. So my name's Eve Albert. I was born in Buffalo, New York, and I went to Binghamton for undergrad and then came back here for law school. So I'm currently a 2L at the University at Buffalo School of Law. I'm involved with a few things there. Most notably, I'm on the Environmental Law Journal. So I have an interest in that area of law. And I'm the student director of the Peer Advocate Program, which Nayeli and I have talked about. We both are really passionate about keeping an eye out for those coming into law school and making sure that the transition is easier. So I think that's another thing that drew me to this podcast as well. I know there's a lot of resources out there that I have personally found really helpful and advantageous. So I wanted to, get involved, provide something similar that, I could put my own personality into.
Oh, that's great. Well, we're really excited to have you as well. And speaking of New York, our guest is from Syracuse. So why don't you tell us a little bit about who you talk to and why?
Yeah, absolutely. So our guest, Kimberly Wolf Price, she began her career in a New York City office, a big firm, and then she moved to a smaller firm in the Syracuse area. But the topic that we really grilled her on for this episode was her work at Syracuse University. In the law school, she was the assistant dean of professional and career development for several years, and then she became the director of the externship programs. And in that experience, we wanted to ask her about her work with students, specifically about relocation after law school. So that's what you're going to be hearing shortly. We asked her a plethora of questions that are important to us and important to all law students that might be considering this big life change. And fortunately, she now works as the COO at Bond Shenick in Syracuse. so she has experience on the hiring end as well. So with both of those facets of her career, we got a lot of good advice from her, a lot of good information about relocation after law school, and tips that law students can apply today to start thinking about that decision and really push their career forward.
That's terrific. Nayeli, what interested you about talking with Kim?
Yeah, she offered a lot of really good tangible tips about what to do when you're thinking about leaving after law school. I am not originally from Michigan, where I am now, and I was still thinking about where to go. And so when Eve and I had talked about this, it was something that was really important to me because I think that it can seem really daunting when you're in one place where you're unfamiliar, wanting to go to another place where you're unfamiliar, especially I think for a lot of first-generation law students, and you don't have any connections to somewhere where you want to be. And just even thinking about what to do is scary. So she gave us some really good tangible tips about how you can get started, how exactly to put yourself out there, some clear steps on how to do that. I think that was really helpful.
That's great. And I know Kim well. We overlapped for a decent period of time at the law school. She was terrific in career services and externships. So she's a great resource for this topic. I remember one time her telling me when we were at the law school that we had something like our students took 1 year over 30 different state bar exams. Some schools can be more regional, some schools can be more national. I think Syracuse, we have a tendency to bring in a lot of students from the New York area and the Northeast, but also students from all over the country. And our students go all over the country. So she definitely has a lot of professional experience in talking to students about where to find jobs that aren't necessarily in the market that you grew up in, or wanting to even go to another market, and even talking to students who might be listening to this podcast who've chosen to go to law school in another place that is unfamiliar to them. So I think Kim was a great guest for that, and I'm really excited to get into the interview. So you guys ready to get started?
Absolutely. So I guess my first question is, when students came to you in your role as a career advisor, what was the first question that they asked pertaining to relocating? And what were some of their anxieties that you kind of helped ease?
Yeah, so they were, of course, I was at Syracuse Law, so they were at a New York State-based law school, and they would get really nervous if they were trying to go to another location. I will tell you the question that they'd ask first is this even possible? Do I just have to give up and work here? And I don't ever give up, right? That's not good. You spent a lot of money, a lot of time. You've worked really hard. And I would try to ease their anxiety and give them some advice on how to do it, how to sort of approach it, take it piece by piece, so it was a little less intimidating, and move on from there.
Absolutely. I think that one of the major obstacles that I have considered, because this issue I started researching because it's something that I've been thinking about.
Yeah.
One of my major concerns was the bar exam, which state to take it in, how to make that decision, how to register in a state when everybody around you is registering in a different one. Yep. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so that is one of the first things you have to do if you're thinking about another state, is go to the state bar examiner's website and take a look at it. Every year we have more UBE states, and that's the Uniform Bar Exam, as I'm sure all the people watching this know. But that's a great tool and resource, but you may not be looking at a state that's a UBE state. I'm going to use Florida, for example. In Florida, the earlier you register, the cheaper it is. So you can be a 1L and start registering for the Florida bar. So it costs a little bit less money. It's not a UBE state, so you have to make sure you're aware of that. So go right to the bar examiner's site. You can go to the National Conference of Bar Examiners site and sort of navigate from there, or use your good friend, Chat GPT, Google Copilot, or whomever, and get yourself to the right site. And then really pay attention to all that information. Some states have requirements that say you have to have taken professional responsibility in a certain amount of time, right? You have to be a certain year in law school, or can only be a certain amount of time away from when you graduated. Some states, you can just take professional responsibility. You don't have to take the MPRE. You want to know all of that in advance as you move forward.
Absolutely. In terms of networking, what would be your advice? Because I think that that's one of the big things that becomes an issue. A lot of the legal field is a reliance on networking and making connections. That's how a lot of my friends have gotten their jobs thus far. What advice do you have for students that might need to network across the country or across the state, but don't know where to start?
Yeah, I think that's another thing that you have to take in little bite-sized chunks. So, of course, you have your alumni network wherever you're going to law school, right? So check in with the alumni and advancement team, check in with your career services office. But a sort of extra level of help is your undergraduate institution. There is sort of nothing better than being one of 5 people in a certain southern part of Illinois where you suddenly find someone who went to Hobart William Smith or Colby College. And then you hear from someone who is in law school right now and they're coming there. They want to be a lawyer as well. And you have this immediate connection. So that's sort of an easy, rich way to connect in. The other piece is, of course, always bar associations. Your local bar associations, your state bar associations, your affinity bar associations. The trick there is you have to offer a little service. So yes, reach out and say, hi, I'm moving to the area. I want to get engaged now. Do you have a newsletter? I could help edit it. Is there something I can do? Is there a way I can engage? Is there a committee you recommend I join? So contact that executive director of that bar association. Connect with a couple of the chairs of committees or sections that relate to the type of work you want to do. Maybe it's labor and employment, or maybe it's intellectual property. Connect with those folks and offer that little bit of service, because then you really make your way in. You become an active and engaged member, and then you're going to have to go take trips, right? You're going to have to try to go there in person once in a while, set up lots of virtual coffees along the way. Those can also be really helpful, and learn the area. Maybe it's where you're from. Maybe it's where one of your relatives has moved to, and you can talk to them about it, or you already have information. But if you don't, one of the worst things is when people don't know who the district attorney is and they're applying for a job like that, or they don't know who the mayor of the town is, things like that. You have to get a real feel for the area so that those who are interviewing you and networking with you understand that you're really bought in.
This may be a rarer instance, so correct me if I'm wrong, but what do you say to people who maybe don't know when they're a 1L? I know I came to Michigan from Texas as a 1L, and I knew that I wanted to leave Texas, but I didn't really know where I wanted to land. And so it was kind of hard to get advice about, what do I do when there are so many options for where I could go, and how do I start looking for those opportunities and telling those people that I want to do that?
Yeah, I think one of the things you might do there is focus on the type of law. So maybe you're super focused on, like I said, the intellectual property. And so then you engage with those types of organizations, you engage with those bar associations, and you tell everyone along the way, it's not the where, it's the what. It's what I'm going to be practicing, the type of work I'm going to be doing, and that is what is driving me. And I'm going to show you that by the classes I'm taking, the things I'm involved with, and then you make your case that way.
That was something that a few people told me, and now as a 3L20 listeners, that is something that has helped me, is letting everybody at my school know and being involved in these things and finding those opportunities. And, we shall see where I land. But I think that's really good advice. And I urge everybody to do that, to be honest and authentic about what you want to do and who you are. And that will help lead a lot of your law school experience and open a lot of doors for you.
Absolutely. And if I can I'm going to add here the advice I always give. The worst thing you could do is let your career just kind of happen to you. Obviously, be open to new things, be open for new, but the folks who just sort of land in some job because it came their way and they didn't make any effort, that's where lawyer jokes come from, right? And that's where the lawyers who tell you not to go to law school come from. Like, I love being a lawyer. Yes, I'm working as a COO now, but in a law firm, and don't tell them that a lot of what I do every day is advise clients, right? Which is this law firm. So it's really an important thing. Like you when you're proactive, you're going to buy in more, you're going to enjoy it more, even on the days when, and they'll happen, you want to take to the bed and just lay down for a little while, right? But you're doing the thing you want to do. So it's really important.
And on that subject, we are 2 law students here. So this is advice. I know Nayeli has worked in advising 1Ls or advocating for 1Ls. That's something that I do at my school as well. But we can't speak on behalf of the legal professionals that are out there. So for the record, I would like you to say that lawyers that are out there want to help law students in opportunities.
Okay, absolutely. And one of the other things, lawyers out there want to help law students in opportunities. Did I do that right?
Yes, you did. Thank you very much. Because that's what I tell them.
Yeah.
But, it's always nice to hear. I know that was a piece of advice I got in my 1L that was really helpful to me.
Yes.
So
The other thing is, you may have noticed this, but we lawyers love to talk. And you get us talking about us, we love it even more. So get them talking, right? They want to have those connections. Students are a bright spot in the day. It's not a client calling with an issue. It's not, the other parts of being in law, which might be billing or grant writing if you're in the public sector or whatever else. It's a nice bright spot in the day. So connect with people.
And I assume that maybe, I don't know what kind of technologies were available when you were advising students, but I think that now it's probably a lot easier to ask someone to hop on a Zoom call with you and, pick their brain about the things that they already love doing.
Absolutely. It's kind of crazy because, I actually left the law school in December 2019. So the world of Zoom kind of opened up moments thereafter. So yeah, absolutely. It is easier. And you all are more comfortable because you've taken classes this way, right? Whether it was middle school, high school, whatever it was, where you were when it happened. So you're comfortable on this platform as well. And, in New York, at least, there are still hearings that are being held on Teams. People are used to the format. So yeah.
I love the idea of virtual coffee because I have so many cool mugs, but nobody gets to see them.
Yes, I select my perfect mug every morning to determine how my day will go. Yes.
Okay, so then another thing that I definitely wanted to talk about, the benefits of staying local and staying in a tight-knit community with who you graduated with don't need to be stated. You have those connections, you have familiarity with the local and the state laws.
Right.
Can you think of any benefits to relocation?
Sure. I mean, I wasn't, my first job in practice wasn't in the same town where I went to law school, right? It was New York City, which is its own world in and of itself. Relocation also gives you the opportunity to learn from people who learned from a different evidence professor, right? So you get diversity of thought in there. And I'm not picking on evidence. The same holds true for civil practice or anything else. But you get the opportunity to really connect with people from a different viewpoint who've had a different experience. And then you get to meet a different set of students and you are bringing that same thing. There are times when recruiting partners will say, we've just hired the last 7 people from the same school. Maybe we need a little something else. And you could bring that to the table.
We've talked in preparatory meetings for this, how some states have specialized courts and specialized areas of law. Is that something that you've experienced advising students on when they're really set on one subject, but they don't really have their heart in staying in any one place or going to any one place?
Well, I mean, I don't want to go back to IP, but yes, IP, right? Because there's a
go back to IP.
There's the federal circuit. I mean, family court, family law, that's a big thing. That's a big specialized court. Surrogates court is what we call it in New York, that any courts for trust and estates. So yes, definitely have talk to students about that. And those are instances where sometimes those clerkships can be really helpful, right? In the state of New Jersey, for instance, every single judge can only have their clerk for 1 year. They have to turn over after just 1 year. So that's hundreds of new jobs every year. And you could be in criminal court, you could be in family court, you could be in another specialized court. And it really gives you the opportunity to sort of hone in on those topics. So it's a good way. It can be really strategic if you do something like a clerkship that really can help, or a fellowship if you're interested in certain types of public interest law.
So when would be a good time to go talk to your career services office about maybe wanting to relocate?
Well, is it your first day of eligibility to talk to them of your first year? That's always good. But if it's not then now. Whatever it is. I really firmly believe that what happens to a lot of students is they panic. They think I'm too late. I'm a 2L. I'm a 3L. It's too late. It's not too late. You have to start at some time. So start right now. Make an appointment for next week. Make the connection. Build the relationships with the career services team who will introduce you to the alumni relations team, who might talk to other people on campus for you. Start now. Don't be embarrassed. They're here for you. If I can say this, it's not like tuition's cheap. So go in and make that connection.
We'll be right back.
I'd like to kind of go into your previous answer about firms. Let's move on to that for a second. I have been told a lot, and I was told a lot when I first got to Michigan, and I decided maybe this is where I wanted to stay, that employers would be apprehensive that I actually wanted to stay here because I had a Texas firm on my resume that I was working at before law school, or, a lot of people are in similar boats. And so could you tell us a little bit in the mind of a firm or a recruiter, like, how does that impact your decisions, honestly, in a negative or a positive way?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you see it on the resume, right? You can see it. But if it's a good resume, if people have great credentials, if they have the things we're looking for, we're going to let that person make the case. So what you have to do is be really strategic about how you make that case, right? You have to have already gotten involved in a local civic organization, a local bar association, whatever it is, like get that connection in and tell them why this is where you want to be. You make the case. If they don't ask you that, because there are labor laws, we're a little, reluctant sometimes to ask certain questions, then you find a way to make that case. Say, once I got to school here, I realized this is the type of community I could live in long term. And here's what I've done along the way. I volunteered at the food bank. I, walk my dog in this park. This is the thing that's important to me. Here's what I like. I really have always enjoyed dark winters and wearing boots. I don't know if that.
I do.
Okay. And if you make that case, we have some of our most successful lawyers here. We're in Syracuse, New York, and the office that I'm in right now, the firm's all over New York, Florida, Kansas. But we have people in the Syracuse, New York office who are from Maine, and they just made that case.
Into the kind of specifics of that, I know that something that I had to deal with a lot was a cover letter is supposed to be about a page. And, you want to spend some of it talking about your experience. And so I caught myself trying to squeeze that sentiment into about one sentence. And so this kind of a two-part question is, one, do you think it would be worth it to maybe spend a little bit more than a sentence, maybe because they see your resume, so presumably they understand a little bit of your skill, to maybe take some extra time to talk about your connection to the area in that? Or how do we squeeze it in a good, concise little sentence?
Yeah, so I think the first thing is, I hate to tell everybody this, but I'm not sure how many times they read the cover letter. So, but if they do read the cover letter...
Wait, I've put some of my best work in. I
know. And it's all
insane.
It's the reality is busy lawyers often flip to page 2 first. If they're interested in page 2, they go back to page 1. So, but what you want to do is really quickly, you could even say, I'd appreciate the opportunity to talk to you about my connection to East Lansing or, wherever it is. And just say that and then give them another little bit after that. And that'll pique their interest, right? So don't give it all away there. Pique their interest enough for them to call you.
That's really good. I hadn't exactly thought about it like that. So as a 3L, I'm going to take that with me
all right.
as I continue on. You talked a little bit already about some ways that we could get involved, but for somebody who maybe is looking to move to a state that is different from the place where they're currently in law school, let's go back to Florida, for instance. It's a little bit far away from Michigan where I am, and flights are expensive. So if I was somebody in that scenario, I would register, you said, for the Florida Bar Associations. And I assume you can put that on your resume, Florida Bar Association member?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then would even going to those Zoom, I know a lot of those places have Zoom conferences, but is there anything else that you could do from a little bit further away?
Absolutely. That's where I say that you call the executive director of the Collier County Bar Association and say, I'm really interested in coming there. This is where I want to build my career. Is there any way from Michigan I can help you out? Can I help you with your publications? Do you want me to take notes in a meeting? How can I help? And if you do that and actually can say you're engaged in these committees, 1 or 2, please don't do 15. You're too busy as lawsuits. But if you pick 1 or 2 and you can get engaged that way, then you meet those people on that committee. Then they're like, wow, Nayeli really helped me out on that. Like, Eve was great on this other project. And then even if they're family lawyers or whatever the case may be, and you want to practice IP, they'll go find their friends who do that for you. And, you'll sort of pass it along that way. So I really recommend making sure you can say, oh, yes, I helped out on that publication. Or, oh, I've been really active in this one group and I take their notes for their meetings so I can stay engaged.
Do you think that there's some merit in working as an associate in your home state or your home area for a few years and then transitioning to a new state? Is there some merit in that? Or is it a case-to-case basis? Have you seen that before?
Oh, yeah, definitely have seen that a lot. Where I think I'm one example. It's not the different state, but I was New York City as an associate for a bunch of years and then moved to upstate Central New York. I've had friends and former students who started practicing here in Central New York and have moved back home to wherever they're from. There's definitely a lot of transplants who just come here after, right? They've started somewhere else and then their significant other gets a job at one of the hospitals around here and they have to move and they have to make that case of why they'd be here. So yeah, that happens. It can be a little case to case, but if you can always advocate for yourself, right? So translate to them how your experience in Buffalo, New York, working for a commercial litigation firm translates to their LA litigation firm and why it matters.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. No, because situations definitely vary a lot. I think for some people, they may need to move for family reasons or for personal reasons.
Absolutely.
And other people may just not want to be in freezing cold Buffalo weather anymore, So if you can deal with it
for
Bills. Go Bills, of course. If you can deal with it, would you suggest getting a few years as an associate under your belt?
Well, I think the first thing is, don't just take anything, but experience also always helps. It's sort of one of those things where once you have a job, it's easier to get the next job, right? I think it's because you have confidence. I think because it's happened before. It's not necessary to do that. But if you feel like, hey, this is a good experience, I like these people will advocate for me. We've had associates who are like, for love, I'm moving to Colorado. And we're all like, who do we know in Colorado? And we start calling the people we know in Colorado, right? Because we don't have an office there, but we really like this associate and we want them to succeed. So you can build those relationships and use those to help you as well.
I think that what you just said about, being at a firm and maybe, not in every instance, but wanting to call and help them I think that in of itself eases a lot of the fears of some of my classmates. I've heard is them saying that, what if this does happen, or my partner's in med school and I don't know where we're going to go after that, but I still have to work and I don't want to burn any bridges. And so it's nice to know that from a firm perspective, everybody understands that we're only human and life happens. And sometimes you have to move on from something. And if you are authentic while you're there, people will want the best for you.
So true.
While we're kind of a little bit getting to the end here, is there anything in specific, some major points that you would like to leave any of our listeners with for a multitude of the scenarios that we talked about? Someone in law school in a different state than where they came from, someone moving to a different state, and all of these multitude of things that are swirling around our heads as we're going through these years of law school and trying to figure out where we're going to land. How would you ease that worry?
Well, so I chair the New York State Bar Association's Committee on Attorney Wellbeing. So I'm going to start with take a deep breath. Breathe in, breathe out. It's going to be okay, right? You can control that. So start with a couple of breaths and then just get started. Start with a conversation with your career office. Start with a conversation with a trusted advisor. Start with a favorite undergrad professor who may be someone who has some connections for you. Start the conversations and keep it going. It's exhausting. Yes, I really wish for all of you that the first conversation you have after this will be the one that leads to your dream job. However, I doubt that, right? Like that's not always how the world works. And your dream job may change over time. So be open to new ideas. It's not the end of the world. Whatever you do first does not have to be what you do last. Keep working at it. If you keep providing the best work you can and engaging, being curious about the law, about what you're doing, you're going to move in the right direction. So take that deep breath. You've gotten this far. You can do this and just start tackling it a little bit at a time.
Yeah. And to echo something you said earlier, You lead with authenticity and you lead with who you are and what you want to do.
Yep.
And doors will open themselves for you. And as scary as it is to, like you said, make those calls in Florida and
Yes.
put yourself out there in a place that you might have no connections to.
Right.
It's only when we do those things that are scary and push ourselves that we end up where we want to be and where we are going to hopefully be happiest.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have to, you get to.
Absolutely. And I think that that's important for law students to hear, especially because we are going to be the legal professionals very
Absolutely.
soon. So it's important to remember where you came from, the people that helped you along the way, and also being willing to return that favor, get some of that good karma back, you know?
Absolutely. Pay it forward. And I think that's why lawyers want to talk to law students, because we remember that as well.
Well, thank you so much.
Well,
Yes.
it was truly a pleasure to speak with both of you and get to meet you.
That
I'm
was so
excited for
helpful.
you.
That
I
was very helpful.
really learned so much.
I
and
feel
I'm
so
still
much better.
Yeah, I do. I'm still doing my search. I'm still trying to figure out, all that stuff. So I really appreciate it. It was very helpful.
Absolutely. You
Yes.
guys the two of you are going to be great. I'm excited to hear. So you have to just update me along the way. Let me know how it's going.
Thank you. I will
Absolutely.
connect with you on LinkedIn.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Of course. Thanks for the invite.
We'll be right back after this. Once again, thanks to Kim Wolf Price, the Chief Operating Officer at Bond, Shennick & King, for sharing her experience with all of us today. If you're feeling nervous about your next steps, definitely follow Kim's advice and make sure you use your law school's Career Services Department. They're a wonderful resource and eager to help. If you have questions or comments about this episode, make sure to share your thoughts with us at the ABA Law Student Division socials or through a review on Apple or Spotify. And make sure you subscribe to our feed to hear about our future episodes or dig into our back catalog. If you're looking for even more student content curated just for you, head over to the ABA Law Student Division website and become a member. And before we go, we'd like to thank our production partners at Moraine Media and to thank the ABA Law Student Division for making this show a reality. We'll be back next month with another episode. See you then.